We all love hearing and rehearing the Christmas narrative, and every time I hear the Christmas narrative, and particularly as we move from Christmas to Epiphany about the coming of the wise men, I think of a number of childhood things. First of all, when I was one of the wise men in the school nativity play, and I was hastening up the aisle bearing my gift of frankincense, and I tripped on the chancel step and fell flat on my face in front of the whole congregation, gift and all. And I also remember a teacher I had in school who every time we were talking about the Christmas narrative, she'd say, "Children, how many wise men were there?" And we'd all say 3. And she'd say, "It doesn't say that in the Bible, it only says there were 3 gifts." So perhaps there were more than 3 so-called wise men. And that leads me to a story I used to love again as a child, which is the legend of the so-called 4th wise man. And it comes in various renditions and versions, but the gist of it is this, that 4 wise men, seeing the star, contemplating its meaning, searching for truth, set out from the east on their quest, and as they travelled along together, one of them fell out of the company of the others, perhaps was distracted by scenes he saw around him, by people he met, by need he discerned, but somehow or other they parted company, and 3 of them went on to Bethlehem, and after the encounter with Herod found their way to bring presents to the newborn king. And according to the legend, on the way back, the 3 wise men who had actually seen the baby Jesus met again in some lodging house, the 4th wise man, and they told him of what he had missed. "Why did you part company with us?" they said. "We travelled on, we followed the star, we found the true king, we brought our gifts, we saw this transforming child." And the 4th wise man, according to the legend at any rate, said, "Well, that's wonderful, but while you were doing that, I was meeting the needs of the hungry and serving the cry of the homeless and responding to the prayers of the poor. While you were doing your quest, that's what I was doing." And I think the 4 of us can now go home with different perspectives, but united in a sense that we have all somehow seen Christ. And so the 4th wise man found the Christ, God made flesh, in those who were in particular need. It's easy to say today that that insight holds true, that we should have our eyes specially open to the Christ-like presence of God in those who are homeless, refugees, needy, poor, cold. Goodness knows we say enough about it. We think about the war in Ukraine and its implications. We think about direct provision. We have multiple organisations who wonderfully, on our behalf and with our generosity, respond to the needs of so many people in whose presence Christ can truly be seen. It's easy to say all these things, and yet only to pay lip service to them in the actuality of our relations and our efforts to build bridges and to see God in the other. One of the cliches that worries me most in the life of the church, and I hope I'm not speaking disrespectfully of any particular place, is the almost automatic tendency to put the words "all welcome" on the notice board outside a church. And when I see those words, I often dare to say to church wardens and parishioners, are you sure they're true? Because really, if you're not into churchy culture, one of the hardest places to enter, even sometimes at Christmas, is the building that proclaims the faith of the Incarnation and that proclaims a Christ-like welcome. In fact, entering those places, understanding that culture, putting your foot over the threshold can be extremely difficult. And there are many people who, because of their sexuality, or their way of life, or their ethnicity, or their cultural background, or their sense of being inadequate, don't feel that they are welcome and cannot bring themselves to put their foot over the threshold of the place whose notice board wildly proclaims, "All welcome." So think of the 4th wise man and his discernment. And at Christmas, When famously there was no room in the inn, let's remember there still sometimes is metaphorically no room in the places that supremely proclaim themselves as welcoming. And if that is the case, then Christ is left out in the cold, as was the case 2 millennia ago. Having said all that, open your eyes, embrace the other, and have a wonderful Christmas with those you love.